All right, so I do a really quick first impressions video for our new 2023 SR5 Premium 4Runner. It's got about 400 miles on it now. Picked it up, had 2 miles on the clock. It's December, second week of December 2023. We had 2024 that was coming in that we had our name on, and we found this 23 that had the exact spec we wanted, and ended up pulling the trigger on it. Like I said, it's an SR5 Premium. It was in the spec that we liked, which was white. We needed a third row, and we liked having the black interior. I'm going to go through and probably do some follow-up videos with plans for it, a little bit more reasoning why we went with this versus other versions of the 4Runner or other vehicles in general. My background, I've done a lot of adventure travel since probably the early 90s with various vehicles, mostly Land Cruisers, but also like a Tundra. I had some Troopers back in the early 90s that I traveled with. Currently we're running a Sportsmobile Power Stroke van. That's our main kind of family camping travel vehicle right now. But we picked this up for my wife for a daily driver. We were looking for something with 3 rows because we have 3 kids. We're a family of 5. We needed something that could spread the kids out a little bit more because they weren't coexisting in the back seat that well. And with the new Land Cruiser coming soon in 2024, they're just kind of rolling off the assembly line right now. I had the decision of kind of what's the best vehicle to get. 200 series Land Cruisers discontinued. And the new ones, basically a Land Cruiser Prado they're bringing. The 5th gen 4Runner is essentially a Land Cruiser Prado, the previous generation. And in a nutshell, I decided to go with the tried and true 5th gen 4Runner and its bulletproof drivetrain. I'm hoping to get a good solid 20 years of service out of this car for daily driving, family hauling, backcountry traveling, all that sort of stuff. Initial thoughts, though, is what I want to sum up in this video. We're in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and needed a vehicle that can handle 4 seasons, cold weather. It stretches in sub-zero weather. We get 300 inches plus of snowfall where we live in the wintertime. And this thing is a pretty good compromise for kind of doing everything we need to do, being reliable, being safe, transporting all of our family. So far, driving impressions, I haven't been driving it a ton, but I'm seeing 21 to 23 miles per gallon. Driving around in the rural area where we live. Enjoying the ride quality on the SR5. I didn't know if that would, I didn't know what to expect really. I've driven older 4Runners, a lot of Land Cruisers, things like that. I haven't driven a 5th gen 4Runner. People say they ride really nice, and I think it's true. Visibility's great out of this thing. I've heard people mention that it's similar in size to an 80 series Land Cruiser, which I had one for 20 years. And I love that vehicle. I think it's one of the better 4-wheel drives out there. This is very comparable. The top of the windshield's a little bit lower. The roof line's a little lower. And the belt line's a little higher, so it doesn't quite have the greenhouse as an 80 series Land Cruiser, but it's pretty darn close for a modern vehicle. And I really enjoy it. Seats are super comfortable. Obviously, they're heated in the premium model. The soft text material, which is supposed to wear better than leather, easy to clean. That works great. Seat heaters work reasonably well. Heated steering wheel. Where we live, that's always nice to have. I like the way it rides. Like I said, the SR5, I wasn't really sure what to expect, but I have to say I'm impressed. It's actually more premium feeling as far as its driving experience than I expected. Very solid structure, which I expected, but it's just a kind of a soft, confident feeling. I had read a lot about people saying there was nosedive and braking, and I kind of thought that might have been overhyped, but it's real. I think, to me, I'm not really used to the nature of the brakes. They seem not to be super linear. They're kind of progressive as you get into the pedal, and so therefore it really exacerbates the nose pitching when you brake hard. Maybe the brakes need to be seated in, though, because like I said, right now it's at 390 miles. So I haven't put a ton of miles on it yet. They haven't really seated in, probably. But yeah, driving down the road, great handling. It's just confident. It's in an old school nature of a truck. It feels heavy, but it feels solid. I think it's a really good ride quality. I haven't driven it off the pavement a ton yet. We have a lot of really rough secondary roads where we are in this rural area. And the ride quality is great on frost heaves and stuff like that. I'm finding driving down some dirt roads that were pretty potholed the other day, I was happy with the quality of it. So overall, really like it. It's been, I guess, surprisingly good. It's better than I expected. You read about certain vehicles and you watch maybe video reviews on them and stuff. It doesn't really lend itself to actually getting behind the wheel of something and driving it and how it actually feels in the real world. Interior, I like it because it's simple. The controls, I didn't even go figure out all the technology on it yet, but all the controls are really simple. You got your fan speed, your HVAC settings, your temperature control, and they're all real dials that are easy to use. Same with power and volume for the radio. Everything's super intuitive. There's tons of information you can scroll through the screens on, and I'm not going to break that stuff down in this video, but maybe I will in the future video. But overall, I like it. We went with a black interior and anthracite versus the lighter tan. I kind of like the lighter tan because it was brighter inside, but then historically every light colored interior has aged terribly. Black interiors never go in or out of fashion, so for a vehicle you want to own for 15 to 20 years like what this is going to be, I think it's a good choice because it's always going to just look like a black interior, not cool or uncool. So happy with that. Happy with the build quality. These things are built great. If you don't know, the 4Runner is built in the Tahara assembly factory in Japan, alongside the Land Cruiser Prado and the Lexus GX460. As the time I'm filming this, the first Land Cruisers, the new Land Cruiser coming to the US, is rolling off the assembly line. It's on the same assembly line mixed in with these 5th gen 4Runners. They're still making them 2024. They haven't changed anything for 24, just a different shade of gray, replaced magnetic gray. So the 23, like what this is, and the 24 are absolutely identical, and everybody's kind of saying 24 is going to be the final year. All sorts of rumors about what the next 4Runner is going to be. More than likely it's going to share the drivetrain with the Tacoma and some of it with the Land Cruiser, which means a turbocharged 4-cylinder and or a turbocharged 4-cylinder with hybrid system. Not knocking Toyota's hybrid systems because they are actually excellent, but for us and for owning a vehicle we want to have for 20 years, kind of like a Land Cruiser, we want to go with the absolutely most durable, longest lasting and reliable vehicle out there, and I don't think there is a better vehicle on the market for it. Kind of thought about waiting for the new Land Cruiser because I like the way it looks, but there's something that kind of holds me back. It's the lack of third row on it and the fact that it's a turbo 4, and no matter how well it's built, over the course of 15-20 years you're going to have more service and maintenance on something that's turbocharged. This is the way it is. 150,000 miles, you're probably going to have to replace a turbo. You're going to have boost leaks. You can have things like that. No question, I'm sure it's going to perform better. It's going to technically be superior, but if I'm going to buy a Land Cruiser Prado, I'm just going to buy this version of it, and because it's tried and true. I know it'll last a long time. 4-liter V6 is adequate. It's great. I had it in the FJ Cruiser for a while. We had same transmission as in this too, and it's not my favorite thing in the world. Big gears, or big jumps between the gears and the 5-speed, but It does the job, and it is absolutely bulletproof, as is everything else about this vehicle. The build quality, the way it's constructed, the feel, the durability. So I do have some future plans for it, but overall we want to drive it probably this winter right now with the stock suspension. And as we move forward, we want to keep this thing basically multifunctional, where it drives nice. I don't want to compromise the riding handling. So I'm probably going to stick with a stockish size tire, maybe a small lift, and maybe a flat utility basket on the top so you can still haul canoes and kayaks. And, you know, these things, the payload's only like 1,200 pounds on this, which is just a touch less than the 200 series Land Cruiser, but more than like a TRD Pro or a TRD Off-Road. Those are about 850 pounds of payload, whereas the SR5s have a higher payload. They don't have the rear locker, but you still have the A-track. So for traveling overland stuff, I actually think that the A-track's totally adequate. We used it primarily on our FJ Cruiser with a lot, and we lived in Colorado with a lot of the four-wheel drive trails and routes we ran in Colorado and Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, Oregon, California, Nevada, Arizona. Had great luck with that vehicle. So I think as we move forward with this, we're going to go with a really simplistic build, kind of maximizing longevity, so not stressing driveline components, so keeping tire size a little bit on the smaller size, keeping weight down, so no bumpers. I'm going to put probably the Toyota rock rails on here. People kind of bash on those, but I found on our FJ Cruiser they're more than adequate. They took some hits and they didn't get deformed. They're not as heavy as some of the aftermarket stuff. They have good coatings on them. They don't seem to rust or get corroded real bad. And you can buy them individually, left and right side. So if you do smack one up and need to replace it, you can get that replacement side. So I like the fact that they're tucked up nice and tight against the body, close to it. They don't stick out far so that it's not real obvious. I want to go real stealthy on this. I want to keep it as stock as possible to kind of focus on the reliability and the durability, longevity of this thing. So I don't want to put a bunch of weight on this. In general, it's my pet peeve with overland vehicles and overland builds is I think the Wrangler and the 4Runner are the most overloaded vehicles I've ever seen. People driving around with things festooned all over the outsides of them, and the interior is crammed full of gear and equipment and things like that. And I have no idea. A TRD Pro with 4 200-pound adults is 50 pounds below max payload. So I don't know. There's a reason you don't want to exceed the payload capacity. And the stuff we're going to do with this, we're going to keep that in mind, and we're going to keep it kind of simple. And this vehicle is going to be used for a lot of different things. But like I said, we're going to try to maintain the great attributes of it, and that's, you know, the ride comfort, and kind of go with a minimalistic approach to how we're going to build it and how we're going to use it. So anyway, that's it in a quick nutshell. That's our new 4Runner. Like I said, I'll have a follow-up video, and maybe I'll go a little bit through more of the reasoning why I chose to get this now versus going with the new Land Cruiser, the 250 series that's coming out. That's based on the Prado. I think these are absolutely amazing vehicles. I love the look of them. They're simple, they're clean, they're understated, they're not gimmicky. And I know it's going to have a nice long life with us and our family. So stay tuned, more to come. Thanks for watching.